And welcome to another Let's Talk About It. So I wasn't here last week because last week was just a bit of a nightmare. So we're going to go through and catch up with basically what's been going on over the last 2 weeks. So unless you've had your head under a rock, you've obviously heard about all the systems that went down due to CrowdStrike. So let me switch this over real quick. I've got a number of things that we're going to go through. Because of the CrowdStrike issue, a lot of things may have got missed. So we've got issues with VMware ESXi, HPE, Cisco, Progress, Raspberry Pi, Cisco, WhatsApp. There's quite a lot to go through, so I'm just going to dive in and we're going to head across and start taking a look. So let me transition this properly. Where are we? Transition that in. Okay, so I suppose we can't go through this issue without addressing the CrowdStrike issue. 8.5 million Windows systems hit by CrowdStrike faulty update, says Microsoft. So let me just find the chat window. There it is. Move some stuff out of the way a bit. Okay, so CrowdStrike, if you're not familiar with it, is basically EDR software. It's used by many. We just grab this over there. It's used by many organizations. It's like competitor products, I guess, a SentinelOne and things like that. So what happened? CrowdStrike is a security product. And Microsoft let out a post saying 8.5 million Windows devices were affected globally. And I think this is a bit under the count. I think it's a lot more than 8.5 million were. Where's my... Sorry, I literally started doing this a little bit late. I didn't have much chance to plan for this one. So basically, CrowdStrike security software, they pushed out, and it runs in the Windows kernel, they pushed a update out, which was to address threat actors trying to use name pipes within Windows as a way of taking over systems. So CrowdStrike wanted to get on top of it. They wanted to push an update out. They did. Millions of machines all over the world blue screened, from airports to coffee shops, government machines, just lots of stuff fell over. And it did also affect Microsoft 365 machines, so your machines that run in the cloud. So 8.5 million machine devices crashed. I've gone through it. I'm going to leave the details for this, as usual. I'll post them on the forum so you can read through all this. But yeah, it was a security product. They somehow pushed a bad update out. I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of how they managed to get the update out or how they crashed machines. There's plenty of podcasts and news information about that. And as I say, I'll leave them below. So they have fixed it. They was on top of it pretty quickly. So where's the... as usual, all the phishing campaigns are out. So this was covered by Bleeping Computer. The last one was Cybersecurity News. I say I'll leave all the links for this. Now, the fake CrowdStrike sites are starting to pop up all over the place, offering fixes. And, of course, they're fake and they are malware. So this has been fixed. As I say, it was fixed pretty quickly. The unfortunate thing about this, and everybody's saying it is one of the biggest IT outages ever, is it required manual intervention for every machine that was infected, which basically involved booting into safe mode and deleting the channel file that was pushed out, which was 291, I believe. Of course, if you're using BitLocker, then there became problems where people don't have the BitLocker keys. And if you couldn't recover the BitLocker keys, you're going to struggle to recover the machine. So there's lots and lots of information all over this. It's been covered by BBC News, pretty much CNN, any news channel in the world will have covered this. So I'm not going to go into that any more than where we've been so far. Hello, Mark. Nice to have you join us. Again, sorry, last week was, it was kids were off on holiday, the CrowdStrike stuff. It was just a nightmare last week to do this. So I just wanted to quickly run through some vulnerabilities in software that may have gone under the radar due to this being in the news. If you don't subscribe to the podcast Security Now, Steve Gibson's dived into it. So that's worth a look. I'll leave all the links through to this. Okay. Let me pull up the first thing to look at. So over 20,000 ESXi vulnerable instances have been exposed. Microsoft warns of massive exploitation. Where is this? We've got the tweet here from Shadow Foundation. We started sharing exposed VMware ESXi vulnerable to CVE 2024 37085, which is authentication bypass. Stop clicking on things. So it was only rated as a CVSS score of 6.8 by Broadcom, but it's been reported as being exploited everywhere. So if you're running ESXi servers, it has been patched. Again, I'll leave the link so you can check which versions are vulnerable, but you're obviously advised to update to the latest versions. Now, some versions, I believe there's no patch for, and there's some mitigations here to help, which is admin's group auto add, setting it to false, setting the auth validate interval time from 1440 to 90, and disabling host plugins by setting it to an empty string, which is this command here. So I'm going to try and just dive through these as quickly as I can. There's a lot that may have passed. So cybersecurity news again. HPE critical 3-part processor flaw let remote attackers bypass authentication. So Hewlett Packard Enterprise, obviously HPE, they've addressed this vulnerability. It's been identified as CVE 2024 22442, which allows remote attackers to bypass authentication, potentially allowing unauthorized access to sensitive data. It's been given a CVSS score of 9.8. So that's pretty bad. Coming in usually as bad as they go. So yeah, just update to the latest versions. All the information, again, I'll leave the links in the description as soon as this is over so you can check the versions, but just update to the latest version of the 3-part storage stuff. Cisco made it into the news. So with the CrowdStrike flaw, not flaw, it wasn't a cybersecurity issue, it was more of a pushing bad patches out or bad software updates, but Cisco Smart Software Manager lets attackers change any user's password. And this has been assigned the highest severity score of 10. So we don't come across them too often. So it's a smart software manager on premise, and it permits unauthenticated remote attackers to change their passwords of any user, including administrative users. If you're running that on-prem, you probably want to go and patch this immediately before continuing any further. The Progress Telerik report server vulnerability. This was reported by the latest Hacker News. I think I covered this on the 17th version, but you're going to want to patch this. remote code execution, and it's got a CVSS score of 9.9, another bad one. So I didn't want to let this week go past without bringing some of these up and say because of all the CrowdStrike news, they're easily missed. RASP-AP, this is a popular software solution. Lets hackers escalate privileges with Raspberry Pi devices. So RASP-AP, it's an open source project designed to transform the Raspberry Pi devices into wireless access points and routers. So it's pretty popular software. On this CVE, 2024 41637, this has been rated with another 9.9. So affects versions before 3.15. It's been disclosed publicly. So yeah, this is out now and people are looking for it. It's a local privilege escalation. So this vulnerability stems from improper access controls where the WW data user can write to the REST API service file and execute critical commands with pseudo privileges without a password. So if you're running RASP-AP, again, you're just going to want to end this now and go and patch it. Numerous Cisco devices have been impacted by there's an issue with radius protocol vulnerability, and it does affect multiple Cisco devices. And we can see there's a lot of devices affected by this. Again, I'll leave the link so you can run through and check these yourselves. But if you're running any of this stuff, so network and content security devices, network management and provisioning services, routing and switching, enterprise and service, UniFi computing, so the UCS stuff. Again, you're going to want to patch these, and I'll leave these links below. This one was interesting. WhatsApp for Windows lets Python and PHP scripts execute with no warning. So obviously Python needs to be present on the system, so does PHP. But if you've got either Python or PHP interpreters on the system, and you're running the Windows version of WhatsApp, then people can easily send you scripts, and they'll just get executed. Thought again, another stupid issue. Bleeping computer tests this behavior was consistent with .exe.com.scr, so the screen file, batch files, and Perl file types using WhatsApp client for Windows. Dash found that WhatsApp also blocks execution of DLL, HTA, and VPS. So, yeah. Watch out for those, I guess. So Bleeping Computer contacted WhatsApp to alert them that PHP extension is also not blocked, but they didn't receive a response at this time. And I haven't seen an update to this article. When was it? July 27th, so a few days ago. But if you're running WhatsApp in enterprise environments, you're going to want to watch that. But it is specific to if they've got Python or PHP interpreters installed on the system. Acronis managed to make the news. Again, this is Bleeping Computer. So some of these are just ridiculous when I'm reading them. I'm just reading some of these. So Acronis warns of cyber infrastructure default password abused in attacks. No way, really? Yeah, what could possibly go wrong with using default passwords? So Acronis have warned customers to patch critical cyber infrastructure security flaw that lets attackers bypass authentication on vulnerable servers. So it's not... Is it bypassing authentication if it's using a default password? So Acronis Cyber Infrastructure, ACI, it's a unified multi-tenant platform for cyber protection that combines remote endpoint management, backup, virtualization, and it's also designed to run disaster recovery workloads. and they're using default passwords that have not been changed. The fact that the UK has brought this law in to prevent things being sent out with default passwords is a good thing, because obviously people don't change them. If you are running OpenStack, make sure you're on the latest patch versions of it. So OpenStack Nova, so the networking side of things. Vulnerability allows hackers to gain unauthorized access to cloud servers. This CVE 2024-40767 affects multiple versions of Nova, poses a serious risk. So this affects Nova versions less than 27.4.1, between 28.00 and 28.2.1, and between 29.00 to 29.1.1. So there are patches out for this. So you get the patches for Antelope, Bobcat, Caracal, and Dalmatian. So you're going to want to check what version of Nova you're running on OpenStack and make sure that that's patched. GitLab, also, the GitLab's like becoming a weekly thing here as well. So GitLab patched a cross-site scripting vulnerability that lets attackers execute code. So they've released new community edition and enterprise versions to address multiple vulnerabilities. So on the 25th of July 2024, so this week, GitLab released versions 17.2.1, 17.1.3, and 17.05. I use GitLab, but we never expose it to the internet. It's just behind a VPN. It has no need to. So if you don't need to expose it, I wouldn't, because it's constantly having issues discovered with it. Docker. So the Hacker News reports a critical Docker engine flaw allows attackers to bypass authorization plugins. Tracked to CV 2024-41110. The bypass and privilege escalation vulnerability carries a CVSS score of 10. That's the second 10 we've seen today, and another maximum severity. So an attacker could exploit a bypass using API request with content length set to 0, causing the Docker daemon to forward the request without the body to the auth-z plugin, which might approve the request incorrectly. So Moby project maintainers said in an advisory. So the issue has been resolved in versions 23.014, 27.1.0 as of July the 23rd. So make sure your Docker version is completely up to date, especially if it's exposed to the internet. What are we on next? Bind DNS. So if you're running Bind as a DNS server, lets attackers flood servers with DNS messages. So multiple vulnerabilities. CVE 2024-0760, 2024-1737, 2024-1975, 2024-4076 could allow attackers to destabilize DNS servers. I did actually see this one, and it's a malicious client can flood the server with DNS messages over TCP, potentially rendering the server unstable. So denial of service attack. So if you're running Bind as a web server, you're going to want to make sure that's up to date. A web server as a DNS server, you're going to want to make sure that's up to date. Do you think the SOC analyst and cybersecurity job market will be on fire, considering investing time and skill set? Video an idea on how about open source SOC stack to complement the new streams. There are always highly sought jobs at the moment. The problem is, they want like entry-level SOC analysts with 10 years experience, and they don't want to pay them very much to do it. But yeah, Cybersecurity is always a. It's not going away anytime soon, is it? It's considering investing time into the skill set. Video idea. How about an open source SOC stack to complement the new streams? That's not a bad video idea, in all fairness. I've got some planned up and coming ones. One of the things I wanted to mention, I'm going to be covering the new OPNsense 24.7 that's been released, which basically moves OPNsense onto FreeBSD 14, away from FreeBSD 13. And there's various benefits of that as well, including like DCL for OpenVPN and things like that, so it should be faster. Because of the move from FreeBSD 13 to 14, WireGuard should be faster as well. So I'm interested to do a few videos on them. I don't know if you've seen my recent video. I've also been working on integrating boot environments into OPNsense. I did a proof of concept. It's working. I've submitted the code, submitted the pull request on GitHub, so we'll see if that gets accepted, but the response has been favorable. But yeah, no, that is a great idea. I mean, look at the last few weeks. With CrowdStrike donuts on top, then the aftermath phishing and hackers, my God. So, yeah, the CrowdStrike thing was bad. There's loads, I say, there's loads of news articles on this, and there's one of the reasons I didn't bother doing it last week, because I would have just got lost in the stream of CrowdStrike stuff. They pushed a bad patch out. I've looked through all the write-ups and stuff and how they managed to do that. So it looks like there was running kernel code and someone tried to update that. I don't know, it's not got tested properly, but it's gone out. Somebody at CrowdStrike's obviously going to have to answer for that. You know, it's not just phishing and hackers that jumped on the whole CrowdStrike thing. Pretty much every security vendor that has no backbone has jumped out calling CrowdStrike, saying maybe it's time to change to a new security solution. We've had millions of these, and everybody that's sent them through have just been blocked. But BlueStacks. So BlueStacks is an emulator that runs on Windows. What's the issue with this? So the BlueStack Apps Player allows Android applications to run on devices running Windows. Yeah. All right, there's an issue with it being able to write to World Writable Directory, makes it feasible for unauthorized users to backdoor an image and enter privileged user code. So, has that been patched on this? Doesn't say. Oh yeah, so prior to versions 10.40, 1000.502 are affected, so that has been patched. So Mike saying, yeah, it was pretty wild to stay out of that one. Good choice. I just left a job. They had 4,000 machines with CrowdStrike. Wow. Bet you're glad you left there. Yeah, it's just been a nightmare for anyone. I don't know how they've managed to push it out without testing it properly, whether the uploaded files got corrupt somewhere for wherever they're just distributing it from. What happened? I'm not really sure how that managed to happen. I think they've still been fairly quiet over it at the moment. Suspicious. Yeah. Certainly wasn't good. As I say, that whole CrowdStrike issue has been an absolute nightmare. And, you know, my heart goes out to everybody that's had to deal with that. It's just an absolute nightmare. The fact that it requires, there's no way of automating it because it requires manual intervention, especially if you're using BitLocker. So, the Hacker News reports on a Telegram flaw. Malware spreading in hidden videos. So, excuse me. 0 day in Telegram's mobile app for Android called Evil Video made it possible for attackers to malicious files to disguised as harmless-looking videos. The exploit appeared for sale for an unknown price in an underground forum on June the 6th. Following reasonable disclosure on June the 26th, the issue was addressed by Telegram in version 10.14.5, which was released on July the 11th. So if you're running Telegram on Android, you're going to want to update that as well. I'm not going to run through the Google Chrome things. So Cybersecurity News has reported about Google Chrome 127's released with a fix for vulnerabilities that lead to browser crash. 24 security vulnerabilities patched. It's your browser. It's the first thing that hits the internet, so update it. It usually does update itself when you open it. Now I forgot. There's a lot of stuff that I don't know how many vulnerabilities on this list. I can't count them. So multiple vulnerabilities have been found in Zenforo Internet Forum solution. They have released a security update on the forums, and multiple issues have been addressed. So if you do use the Zenforo, you're going to want to patch it, and it's same security patches have also been released for the add-ons for the media gallery, the resource manager, and the enhanced search add-ons. So again, you'll be able to find all these in the notes. Is this the same one I discussed before? Cisco VPN router flaw. No, VPN routers. Cisco VPN router flaw lets attackers execute remote code. So this is reported by Cybersecurity News again. This has a base score of 6.5. It's CVE 2024-20416. It stems from insufficient boundary checks when processing HTTP requests. So if the exploit is successful, the attacker might be able to run code as a root user on the devices. So vulnerable products are listed here. We've got the RV340 dual 1 gigabit VPN routers, RV340Ws, RV345s, which are obviously variants, and the RV345P, which are the dual 1 gigabit PoE ones. Cisco has confirmed that security for products unaffected by this, all the RV160 range, the 260 range as well. Software patches have not been released by Cisco. Software patches to fix a vulnerability have not been released by Cisco and will not be by them. Okay, so these was end of life. Say they're end of life and there's no workaround available. So if you're using any of the RV340 or RV345, replace them. Splunk. Again, cybersecurity news. So this is Splunk Enterprise. We've got a CVID as CVE 2024-36991. Splunk released a security advisory with a high severity vulnerability, and it's associated with, path traversal on the modules messaging endpoint in Splunk Enterprise on Windows, and it was given 7.5 high, and affected enterprise versions below 9.22, 9.1.5, and 9.0.10, and it's due to the os.pathJoin Python function, which removes a drive letter from the path taken if the drive in the token matches the drive in the build path. So it allows file traversal and directory traversal. So if you're running Splunk Enterprise, obviously you're going to want to ensure that you're running the latest versions. There's a full list of the affected versions here. So 9.2, 9.20 to 9.21, 9.10 to 9.14, 9.00 to 9.09. And you can see they fixed in 9.22, 9.1.5, and 9.0.10. Splunk is it's it's like log collection, things like that. So there is a community version, is there actually? Or is it just enterprise? I've not used Splunk for a long while. I've done videos on Greylog and things like that, which are similar but open source things like Security Onion. So yeah, it's not a sock as such. Joker and Co. Welcome. Yeah, Waza definitely worth mentioning in the same type of thing. So, but you can use obviously Waza to pass the logs over to Splunk and things like that as well. Who else made the news? This list did not get any shorter. Here we are. Oracle WebLogic server allows complete server takeover. What's the problem with this? This vulnerability disclosed on July the 17th, which was the date of the last one, so I obviously missed this on the last one. Allows unauthenticated attackers with network access via T3 and the IOP protocols to gain complete control over the server. So you don't need to authenticate to do it. So yeah, it's got 9.8 out of 10. So you know, don't want to download the latest security updates for that. Apache. So Apache made the news with their web server. There's a lot of, you just want to make sure it's up to date. Why is Tailscale not available in OPNsense? It is, but you have to install it from the command line. It's not particularly hard to do, and I know that it is being looked into. To a couple of people have had a go. It is being looked into do the plugin for it, and I'm going to have a look at that as well. So hopefully that will be coming soon. So there's no point in going through all these. If you're running Apache, just make sure it's up to date. I'll leave the link to this. There's a lot of vulnerabilities on here. That's quite scary considering how popular Apache is. So yeah, hopefully the Tailscale will be in soon. I've just done the been trying to integrate boot environments. I've done the code for that, so now that's out of the way, and I actually understand completely how the interface works. It's the first coding I've done on OPNsense. I needed to try and figure out how to get my head around how it's all put together. So Tailscale's my next thing on my list to look at. I use it, so that's the reason I'm looking at doing the plugin for it. Yeah, if you're running Apache, update it and check this list and see if any of these items affect you. It's very widely used. MoveIt made it back into the news. So cybersecurity news. A new MoveIt file transfer vulnerability lets attackers escalate privileges. This is just a gift that keeps on giving, isn't it? So Progress Software has disclosed a new high-severity vulnerability, tracked as CV 2024-6576. We've got 7.3 CVSS score, which affects the SFTP module. So this security flaw impacts multiple versions of MoveIt transfer. 2023.00 to 2023.011, 2023 1.0 to 2023.1.6 versions, 2024.0.0 to 2024.0.2. But there are later versions available, so yeah, upgrade if you're using that. Just talking of OPNsense, might as well pull this up. So this was out 7 days ago. I've just been a little bit tied up to do a video on it. So 24.7, nickname Thriving Tiger, features a new dashboard. So when this update come out, you'll notice there has been a couple of hot fixes to it. A few people is moaning like widgets were timing out in the dashboard, so that seems to have been fixed, but the update seems to have gone fairly smooth considering. They say this one's based on FreeBSD 14 now, so yeah, this is the upgrade path from 24.1.x will follow tomorrow. So don't be hasty. It is a major operating system update from FreeBSD 13, so you might even want to wait till 24.7.1 comes out. For those that are running home labs and want to test it, yeah, by all means, go ahead and give it a go. But so I'm going to do a video on it on my test system, but I'm not deploying it on production systems yet, just because of the massive jump. But you can see the work that's been involved in this. There's a lot of stuff that's been fixed and added. So they optionally support for DCO devices for instances. So that's the one that I mentioned in the video that is not in PFSense Community Edition. And I don't think, unless they change their mind and put it in, no idea why it wasn't. There's been a couple of other issues that have come up from this update with issues that are in FreeBSD 14. I believe those submitted and not fixed with regards to how some of the networking stuff works. But yeah, the old 24.7 update is massive, so I'll definitely give it a week or two before trying this. Keep an eye on so I'll leave the link to this as well, but keep an eye on this. So obviously in the first hot fix was something silly. And I'm fixing the one-to-one NAT. So OpenVPN disable DCO permanently on legacy servers. There's been some extra API stuff introduced. One of the things is with regards to certificates. So I don't use Let's Encrypt from OPNsense to do my certificates. I do it straight from a dedicated server, and they've introduced functionality into the API to import the certificates into OPNsense, which is really good. Even though I'd wrote something to do that. Right, so moving on. Crap people are pulling to try and get you to click on things. Fake CrowdStrike repair manual pushes new info stealer. So I mentioned this before about this was just obvious. Bleeping Computer reports that Fraud Ring pushes 600 plus fake web shops but via Facebook ads. Obviously, just people are doing that all the time, so just be careful of that. Malicious Facebook ads are just they're nothing new, but it's still crap people are pulling to try and get you to click on things. Again from Bleeping Computer. So massive SMS stealer campaign infects Android devices in 113 countries. And it's just software being pushed out. Different random things. That read your SMS messages. So if you're logging into sites and you're using SMS as a form of multi-factor authentication, it's being targeted, and you shouldn't be really using SMS unless you have no choice for multi-factor authentication. It's better than nothing, but I'd say it's quite easy and susceptible to attacks, including SIM swapping and things like that. And now, obviously, Android malware that's specifically looking for your SMS messages. So, Krebs on Security reported this today. I saw it on LinkedIn. So, more than 1 million domain names, including many registered by the Fortune 100 firms and brand protection companies, are vulnerable to takeover by cybercriminals. Thanks to authentication weaknesses, which is what he's pretty much getting at is you register a domain with a company and the authentication stuff's a bit sad, and if you don't have DNS set up for them, in some cases, if you've got an account with the same provider, then you can override DNS and things. So you should always make sure that you've got DNS entries for any dormant domains that you're not using. Just point them to a parked page or whatever you need to do. What else we got? Microsoft, I don't know if anyone noticed this. Again, plea big computer. They had a massive Azure outage, and it was caused by a DDoS attack. It was a 9-hour outage on Tuesday, which took down and disrupted multiple Microsoft 365 and Azure services worldwide. And it was a denial of service attack. So that was why that went down. Which was a pain in the ass. They say they confirmed the CrowdStrike update also hit Windows 365 PCs. Cybersecurity news. So this was the Stop critical process died. So this was the release that CrowdStrike did. So all this information, if you want to completely read up on what happened with CrowdStrike, it was this file, this channel file 291. There was some people saying it affected Linux. It didn't. This channel file 291 is not affected. It's not used on Linux, and that's a file that basically had to somehow get into safe mode and delete it. The system will then boot in. CrowdStrike will perform an update and replace the corrupted file, faulty file, with one that doesn't work with one that does work. While we're on about things that can break things, this is a really recent news article. So this was released today. DigiCert obviously sell SSL certificates, and due to domain validation, they're going to be pulling a load of them. So DigiCert has warned that will be revoking a subset of SSL TLS certificates within 24 hours due to an oversight. So if you're using DigiCert, you might want to check that. This was an interesting one. So KnowBe4 do security training and things, and they hired a fake North Korean IT worker, but they captured him while installing malware. So we'll go through this. Who's this? Cybersecurity news. So security awareness and training provider KnowBe4, we used to use them, I don't anymore, recently disclosed that it inadvertently hired a fake North Korean IT worker who attempted to install malware on a company-issued computer. So according to KnowBe4 CEO, the HR team conducted 4 video interviews with the candidate, performed background checks, and verified references before hiring. They used a stolen US passport and an AI-enhanced stock photo to create a convincing fake persona. This deception was uncovered when KnowBe4 sent a new hire a Mac workstation. Upon receiving the device, they attempted to install malware on it. Sorry, bear 1 second. Just checking my phone because waiting for something. So yeah, the EDR software that they had on the computer that they sent out to the new hire found that there was up to no good. So when contacted by the SOC, the fake security employee claimed to be troubleshooting a router issue. However, further investigation revealed that the attacker had manipulated session history files, transferred potential harm files, and executed unauthorized software. They quickly contained the device and terminated access. Always something to be careful for with remote working and things. What else we got? What time are we on? 8:15. I'm trying to get wrapped by past. So we'll cover some breaches and things. We're not going to go over these too much either. I'll just leave the links to them. So GB hackers on security have reported U-Book suffered data breach, 710,000 users data exposed. So it's an audiobook and podcast platform. So this week, a member of the Dark Web Forum announced that in July 2024, the audiobook and podcast platform U-Book suffered a data breach affecting 710,000 users. Email addresses, full names, dates of birth, genders, profile. Change your password if you're using that, I suppose. Don't use the same passwords. I forgot. Cybersecurity news. Health equity data breach. 4.3 million user records exposed. So Health Equity Inc., a prominent health savings account administrator, has reported a data breach. This was on the 9th of March 2024 and was discovered on the 26th of June. So it took 3 months. I'm just trying to see if it says what data was. Yeah, no, it doesn't actually say what it was. Never good. And Bleeping Computers reported that a world-leading silver producer, Fresnillo, discloses a cyber attack. So Fresnillo is the world's largest silver producer and the top global producer of gold, copper, and zinc. Said attackers gained access to data stored in its systems during a recent attack. It was revealed on Tuesday in a filing that it was the subject of a cybersecurity incident which resulted in unauthorized access to IT systems and data. So the company operates 8 mines, all of them in Mexico. And so data is lost. Another Australian mining company, Northern Minerals, disclosed a data breach last month. It doesn't say what was out. All the details of it. So I'm guessing it's because it's still ongoing and the lawyers have said to be quiet. Bleeping Computer, again, this time reporting that a UK government links 2021 Electoral Commission breach to Exchange server. The United Kingdom's Information Commission's Office, ICO, revealed today that the Electoral Commission was breached in August 2021 because it failed to patch its on-premise Microsoft Exchange server against proxy shell vulnerabilities. I'll leave the links again so you can read up about this. So the UK NCSC attributed the UK Electoral Commission breach to Chinese state-backed threat actor. And they backdoored the Exchange server 2016 to deploy web shells, which allowed to gain persistence after installing web shells and backdoors. So Microsoft released security updates in May 2021 that fixed the proxy shell vulnerability chain. The Commission failed to patch its systems, promptly exposing them to attack. So Hope that highlights the importance of patching software, especially since a big list of stuff that I've gone through today. Yeah, so with that, I'm about done. I say I needed to get off. It's kids' 6 weeks holidays, so got places I need to be. But yeah, Joker & Co. I'll look into this as soon as I can. I'll try and get a proof of concept plugin done over the next week, and we'll see if we can get that done and submitted as a PR request. Someone did say that they'd tried it and then a couple of issues with the plugin. I'm not sure why, but I'll take a look and see if I can get that working. So Mac, Joker & Co., thank you for joining me. We'll be back next week, same time, 7:30 p.m. GMT. So, yep, thank you. Thank everyone for joining me. Much appreciated. We'll catch you next week.